under the influence of governance. Mr. Victor, I'm coming straight to you. The implications are far-reaching, and I want to look now the boldness. Wike has been sounding very bold, and I want to attribute it partly to the lack of internal democracy within the People's Democratic Party to be able to have sanctioned him when he has so far exhibited so much anti-party activities, and nothing is. He sees himself more like a demigod. And referencing the former House of Representative member representing one of the constituencies in Rivers State, talking about Honorable Hosfor, he said, what is happening in Rivers State is a clear case of anarchy and the dictatorship being exhibited by Wike using his proxies in the legislature, and I call this a legislative lawlessness. What's your overview of what is happening in Rivers State?
I would say, personally, my own opinion and view is the recklessness of our judiciary. Our Supreme Court, we have lost faith in our Supreme Court because we have the Electoral Act that made it very clear that upon defecting from a party to another party, as long there is no crisis, or mostly from the national platform of the party, you automatically use your position. This Martins Ama Wule and his gang of lawmakers, they swore to an oath, which they confirmed on the 13th of December 2024 of their defection at the High Court. Of course, for them to admit, for that admittance by these gang of lawless and legislative members, but there you go, because of Nyesom Wike has pocketed, you can purchase judgments as long as it favors you. That is why you see the boldness in these lawmakers that are pro-Wike. They are so bold. And another one, the governor of Rivers State, Fubara, I see that he doesn't have a good legal team. Because if he does, we are supposed to know there's what we call judicial jurisprudence authority. There's what we call procedural authority. We should know that local government election matters, because from the judgments that we are here to get the CTC, it made it very clear that the local government current chairman, the election was annulled, and the HPM had to take over the entire local government areas in Rivers State. But we all know that based on jurisdiction, the Supreme Court has no hand in such matters, in local government matters. Local government matters are supposed to be handled by the state tribunal, and it will end at the High Court, not even getting to the Court of Appeal. So I don't know how a matter that ought to end at High Court got to the Supreme Court. If you take note, when Ngozi Okoli, the current administration of the Federal Constituency representative at the Green Chambers, was in court with Elumelu, if you recall, that matter ended based on jurisdiction at the Court of Appeal. It didn't get to the Supreme Court. It was only the presidential election matters that got to the Supreme Court. So why will all of a sudden a local government matter in Rivers State gets to the Supreme Court? And nobody is saying anything about jurisprudence, about jurisdiction, about procedures.
The coming of Wike's wife, or rather the certification of Wike's wife as a judge of the Supreme Court, raised a lot of eyebrows. I mean, it was just the trajectory of promotions calls for some level of questioning on the Nigerian Judicial Council. in the processes towards getting that. And now people have said that Wike has equally pocketed the judiciary.
Of course, if a man can come out boldly on national TV, national dailies, to show the world that he bought, he constructed properties for our judges at various levels, bought them cars worth 100 million naira each, gifted them with money, made it public, not even secret, you will know that he has bought them over. And to come to think of it, the national working committee of the PDP, by now you ought to know that they are all in Wike's pocket. He's in control.
I was coming to that. Let me start with you. Now, looking at the scenario in Rivers State, it's crystal clear that the WrestleMania has just gotten started because there's so much extreme to the two divide. On the part of Simi Fubara, is playing according to the rules. The Supreme Court has given the judgment. He has dissolved the councils. He has said he's bringing forth the what do they call them? The budget to the House of Assembly. And now, legally, does Wike have a right to give the sitting governor two conditions? He said he should present the budget, then dissolve this ESCO and represent his commissioners. You are sitting in Abuja, you are no longer in power, you are instituting, you seem to be ruling Rivers State by proxy. And then the local government authority, the House of Assembly members, seem to be strictly obeying just Wike, and they come out to say they're going on recess. How justifiable are these actions vis-a-vis the situation on ground? If truly, and let's look at this again, though the local government, the House of Assembly members have a right. A governor can decide when he wants to bring his budget to the assembly. It's not restricted by any legislative laws or binding laws or whatever, or bylaws. He decides when he wants to bring it. Now, they are trying to use the three bills they have passed seeking for governor's assent to blackmail the governor, and they went on a long recess. I mean, I call this legislative recklessness. What's your take on that?
Well, it's just that they are being foolish because
very.
Their brothers, their allies who have elected them, whether they were selected or elected, have been expecting them to be doing well, doing their legislative function. See, 2 years is almost gone, or 2 years has passed. They've not even done their work. They've not really, represented their people. And they are the ones suffering. Because, if the federal government has not passed budget, it doesn't mean that the government will come to a standstill.
Of course.
Now, if Fubara passes budget or not, it doesn't mean this government will stand still. Somehow, they are going to be having funds to run, and then later they will regularize. But let me not even start from this point. I wanted to hit the nail on the head when he said judiciary board, this and that. A man said that while we clap for those who are giving alms to people in the name of charity, we should also understand that the world is not supposed to be run on charity. Judiciary is supposed to be an arm of government. They are not supposed to be bought. Cars and houses are not supposed to be bought for them and buildings given to them because they are an arm of government who are supposed to take care of themselves. So that a governor or an executive buys you something. In fact, this kind of thing should be criminalized going forward in our nation as we grow. I use the word nascent. As we grow beyond being nascent, we will grow to have that judiciary will handle their own budget. Legislators will handle their own budget. In the legislature, do you know that if you are not in the party of the executive or you are not in line with the executive, some of the things that come to your colleagues may not get to you? It does happen because the autonomy we talk about in these arms of government, they don't exist. And this is why the executive, they play truancy with all these things. Now, coming back specifically to Rivers State, I want to begin from the governor's side. You cannot take away lobbying and some of all these things from the government, from politics. The governor should wake up. There is no mercy at war. If you're at war, be at war. Don't fight and come back. When you retreat, your enemy takes advantage of the whole thing. If you are in for a fight, you are in for a fight. And you fight it dirty and make sure, in fact, if you know you are not going to win, because the Bible says, how many of you want to build a house? You will not go back and count the cost first. If you want to fight a war, fight it. Don't be like Ambodeo. Be like Obaseki. If you want to fight your boss, you're fighting. If you don't want to fight your boss, work with him amicably so that you get results. All right? So what I'm saying is, these 27 persons, if Wike can be there controlling them, you as a governor, you have to break into this camp. You have to break into the camp and get some people to yourself, because you cannot take away lobbying from government.
It's pretty difficult. You have to break it into this camp. It's a close-knit camp, very neat. To be very difficult to break it. For example, when you talked about breaking into the camp to be able to maybe throw some spanners into their works, they seem to be very cohesive.
They are not, because we heard that some of them are already in support of the governor. But you have to be diplomatic about it, so that we get things working in the state. We can't go on in this kind of situation where the governor, you are holding back his appropriations, monthly allowances, or what is supposed to come to the state, and then he has not presented his budget. How will the government run? How do you want? Why we have to push for separation of the arms of government, because judiciary being bought is a result of the dependency of that arm of government.
Yes, you're an advocate of before I come to you, you're an advocate of trades in governments. We're looking at the implications of internal democracy within our political parties. Fubara is PDP. Wike is assumed PDP. APPDP. So now, looking at the People's Democratic Party, they have not made a policy statement. They have not waded into this. Twice, Mr. President have waded into this. It's a brick wall. Late statesman Edwin Kiabodo Clark has talked about it. Traditional institutions in Rivers have talked about it. Fubara is ready to shoot sword. Play politics for the people, by the people. But then Wike, the czar, he feels bigger than PDP, bigger than Nigeria, bigger than... So what is the role of a political party? They are not from different political parties. Wike has breached protocol in so many instances that require punitive measures from the political party PDP. That he has insulted state governors, has insulted senior members of the PDP, he has insulted members of the board of trustees. He doesn't care who source is God. And it's somebody that followed the same trajectory as Fubara is following to get to the top. Now you're at the top, everybody becomes an ant, and you're using sledgehammers to hit at everybody. So I want you to look at it from the political party point of view.
If care is not taken, the 2027 election that is forthcoming, PDP might end up not having access to tickets that will give them the platform to be elected into offices. Because from information we gathered from intelligence, there is a plot already by this same Wike. Unfortunately, he's in control of the National Working Committee.
Of course.
He has pocketed them. He has pocketed a lot of stakeholders. That is why you will see that this our brother Ugo Chinyere, that is in the House of Rep from Imo State, Idato local government, Idato federal constituency. They are going to file a case through the legal department. Are you aware that Wike and his gang is going to use the National Working Committee? They are going to behind them to go and withdraw the case. Every effort for Ugo Chinyere to advocate for the interest of the party ends up at a brick wall. Why? Because of the influence of this Wike. The presidency also gave him so much powers.
Exactly.
And I would say, let me caution, or President Tinubu should be cautioned, in the sense that if care is not taken, because of the comments Nyesom Wike made against the judge, that they are the minority of the minority in Niger Delta or in Nigeria, which is a very wrong statement. Take note that Ijaws are one globally. If an Ijaw man in Bayelsa State or Akwa Ibom or Edo State is having issue, are you aware that the whole Ijaws in Lagos State, Ondo, they will come together and support their brother?
Yes.
The Ijaws, you cannot just run them down that way. And take note that these Ijaws, they know everything about the pipelines. They know the routes where an old pipeline was installed in 1980. that even a current naval officer doesn't know. Yes. They were born in these creeks. They know every nooks and crannies of the river bodies. So, and you know our Nigerian economy is dependent on oil and gas currently. So, I would advise President Tinubu to caution Nyesom Wike to take it easy on the Jaws so that it doesn't push them. Look at how he described the late Edwin Clark. He said one Henry, like, it doesn't make sense. You are trying to get on the nerve of this Ijaw ethnic nationality, which is very, very wrong. President Tinubu should look into that, because we don't need such crises that we will not be struggling for monthly allocation to take care of the internal needs of our people. So we don't need crisis. Look at Ukraine, look at Russia. You saw what is going on in Ukraine now. Ukraine are now indebted for over 5 generations because they cannot pay the debt that was used to fund them for that war.
Now they are now, not been won.
It was never won. It was a waste of time. Resources gone, human lives gone. Then it was a lose-lose for both the Europeans that came together to support Ukraine. So we should toe the path of peace as against violence, because Nyesom Wike is inciting the Jaws, which he should stay away from such actions of incitation.
But he has so much pride, he has even refused to make apologies to the elder statesman, to the Ijaw nation. And it's not something that is pretty good with the present reality on ground. Elder, we're looking at the situation on ground, and I want to believe that Rivers State is for all of us, not just Rivers, because it's the treasure base of the nation. Now, the judgment happened less than a fortnight ago. Immediately the judgment was passed, Simi Fubara carried the olive branch. Because one, he wanted to respect the judgment of the Supreme Court, he wanted to respect the Constitution. I expected a reciprocal response from those 27, with due respect to them, miscreants. I want to use that word, with due respect. Because of the implications of where they are plunging our democracy to. If the sitting governor can be remorseful, it deserves to follow the Supreme Court judgment to the detail, and we have 27 lawmakers who have turned the House to their own personal circus, it calls for question truly the influence of godfatherism in our politics. Is it legislative recklessness? What should they have done right? I'm talking of the legislators now, that could have moved. In the last 2 weeks, Rivers State could have been somewhere. They could have had budget passed, they could have been working with the budget, the allocations could have been returned, and they could have had a time frame. You are calling an independent body, DSEC, to report to you under a time frame. The legislature seems to be more dictatorial than the executive. So what's your perception of what's panning out?
Well, you see what is started out in Rivers State today. It's what you call a boomerang. Rivers people, I'm sorry, with all apology, that know for the act of betrayal. They did it during the war to the Igbos. And Umokoro were renamed Umokoro. Obi Igbo, Rumu Igbo. They speak Igbo, they answer Igbo name. They do Igbo culture. They tell you they are not Igbos. So betrayal is in their blood. That's by the side. Then secondly, looking at Wike's character. Odili was governor of Rivers State. Odili serves Ahoda area, closer to Ikwere side. After Odili, Amechi went in. Amechi is Ikwere. After Amechi himself went in, he's also Ikwere. Since the present dispensation, the Ijaw man had never been governor. And then the Ijaw man has ascended that too. You want to control him. The Amaule who you install as the speaker is your cousin. The chief of staff you get to the governor is your cousin. The chief security in the government house is your cousin. So you render the man up with all your people, catch him to just be a ceremonial governor by name. Wike should be reasonable. He who fights and runs away lives to fight another day. The one thing I love him is that he's very outspoken. And anybody who wants to judge him, you judge him from his words. The other day, say what annoyed him most was that before they started the matter, the governor stopped his allowances and a pension as a governor. Even if you stop it, if another governor comes in, won't they pay you that money? So the entire state should suffer because they stop your stipend. Then the Amawule himself should understand that he's not an executive, he's just a lawmaker, ordinary lawmaker. If the governor wants to cite something in your constituency, he will cite it. They don't want to cite, you can't do him anything. And they should understand that it is easy to win a war, but cannot achieve peace in the next 30 years. My father used to say one thing, he said, if you sue your brother to court or to native court with a huge amount and your brother borrows like 30,000 to come and answer that suit, and then the case is finished, he said, until your brother's debt finish on that 30,000, the case is not settled. Now, the more they do this case, the more Fubara becomes popular.
Exactly.
Because most areas Wike neglected because he had low vote. He didn't say development. This man has remembered those areas. Now, Amawule should understand that the more you are making trouble, you have not even gotten even a toilet to a constituency.
It's annoying. It's
Very
so foolish
annoying.
of him.
So what are you now?
What
What
does
are
he
you
want to
putting
achieve with
on?
all this?
And let me tell you one
Acting
thing.
as
He
someone
wants to
else's
impeach the
script.
governor
Yes.
and become
And become
governor.
governor.
Let's
Yes.
see how it happens.
They should also understand that if you want to be a radical politician, prepare not to look for appointments. Prepare not to
Exactly.
contest election. Because with this one, the 27, can't go back to the constituency and say they need a ticket to contest.
They can't.
It's not going to be possible. They tell you the one you went,
What did you achieve?
what did you
with it?
achieve? You fought with it. You're looking for ego with it.
Selfish interest.
Yes. A politician must look at the face of the people. You must mellow yourself. And that is why, I'm sorry to say, one of our legislator here, Nnamdi Ezekyi, rather than Nnamdi Ezekyi, the other day was awarded,
Most inclusive.
most inclusive, because
Legislator.
he's working with the APC, he's working with the PDP, he's working with the LP, he's not tribalized, he's not working here, and PDP must be on my PDP law. He's even closer to the speaker when it's not even an APC person.
That's a good one.
That is what a legislator should go to work for. And then you come back to say, what do you want, my people? We give you, go and lobby the governor, not to go and fight the governor.
That's because he has someone backing him.
So the issue we're having now is that Wike cannot get it right in Abuja and get it right
in
in
Rivers.
Port. Let me tell you one thing. Even if they impeach the governor, this case will not be settled until they have 2 Ijaw governors that will come and complete their tenures. And there will be no peace in Rivers State in the next 30 to 60 years if they impeach the governor.
I think we will know.
So I pray that they should use their tongue to count their teeth and seek for peace and know what they can settle. Many people are calling them, and judicial in this country, like what my brother said,
Yes, that's what I was going to.
that the governor don't have a team of lawyers that are focused. You know, one,
Well, even what
when the people defected, that you people were, when Femi Falana they were filing this case in court, they should have known that this case is a high court case, state high court case, and not a federal high court case. But you left state high court case a son, and you went to federal high court. Not until you went to Supreme Court, you remember that this case is supposed to start because of judgment of appeal court. You remember that supposed to this case is supposed to be then you withdrew it at Supreme Court. And that Supreme Court, like now there was a judicial inquiry, there is a judicial panel by all appeal court judges. They faulted the judgment of appeal of Supreme Court and said the case of the local government he dissolved was never a matter. If local government chairman were not a party in that
at
case.
all?
Even the issue of defection was never a party in that case. So why? The only issue there is that you didn't present budget to us.
They were even
I
supposed
think there are
to. They were
two
even supposed to sue the pro-Wike group for perjury
For
I
perjury.
think
because
there
they
are two
admit there was admittance
I
on the
want to
13th of
say,
November
yes.
that
They took
they took
other
oaths. So they
And
supposed
then
to
the
be
oath
30
is
years in
the
prison.
oath.
The oath is there.
And who is watching? Nobody's presenting this evidence. There are two things I just want to say. If we
So I don't know what
have time
they are so
to talk
petty.
about
I don't
here.
know if Falana
This
is
is so
First,
petty.
Falana.
I don't know if we have PDP, although they have 12 governors, but that party from ab initio have been talking about it because even this presidency they are losing, all these things that are happening in these countries because we don't have good parties. Even the APC that is misbehaving had a better ideology than the PDP that has been ruling for more than 16 years. or at least up to 16 years. That party is not, something is happening, they need to rework it. Because that party, I watch American, I watch other parties, they don't present candidates year in, year out after election. One man has been having your presidential ticket for more than that's 12 years. And the man is still in the party and they are still trying to tell him to shield sword. See, I hate the fact that we're even pointing Wike. In fact, we should give kudos to Wike. That means he's very powerful. Wike now seems to be more powerful than our system. Because we don't have a functional system. So the problem is not Wike. The problem is that we don't have a constitution. The problem is that we are still evolving. We don't even know how we should be. When and where a governor should present, okay, at what time a governor should present his budget, if we know that he's to present it in the House of Assembly. That is taken. But when should he do it? And then, what are the things that are holding them together? Because what is happening now, going on recess, when the governor has not presented your budget, the budget of a year, this is March. And you have whether your constitution or your rule to proceed on recess, and then the system is also quiet about it. And now we want to call on Wike, mention Wike. We are giving too much credence to Wike. Wike has no power. It's because the system is corrupt and bad. And all of these things are ripple effect of the nonsense that INEC is doing. In fact, I tell young people, I'm not calling for a revolution now. I'm not sure worry. But what I'm saying is that our election going forward should not be declared in the court. It should be right there in the field. If you declare who is not, even you that declared it, you can, even with the, see, there are countries where they will wake up today and say enough of this nonsense, and the government will be pushed out.
That is it. Comrade, let's get your opinion.
Based on
yes, on what we're discussing, we're looking at the influence of Wike, still how relevance, what can be done moving forward. Time, please.
The fact remains that President Tinubu should call Wike to order.
For the sake of
our democracy, for the sake of our governance system, because the world is watching
us. The APC seem to be scared. He made one very important point. He said we should not be talking much about Wike, that the system is the problem.
That's what I said.
The system, the judiciary, INEC.
There is no accountability in Nigeria. That's our problem. People go scot-free. What Wike is doing now is enough to even send him to prison.
And look at
he comes out to boldly, even for him to make that statement that to incite against the judge, it's a criminal act. Because he's trying to incite. When you go and study Violence Against Persons Act,
look at
you see that he is trying to incite the people of Ijaw into violence.
We must make it work.
And if they just react, they will say, man, they have been. However, moving forward, it's been the faculty. Today's topic has been very, very incisive and, of course, debatable. We're looking at Fubara and the Godfather debacle in Rivers State. And, of course, I've had three very wonderful gentlemen. Time really didn't let us throw more light on this topic. I want to appreciate your presence, Chika Moso.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Elder Sonny Obedo, thanks for coming. And, of course, Comrade Victor Oj, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
The faculty returns again.